Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Well, it wasn't what I was looking for at the time, but when it happened, it was an experience I'd never forget. It was around 1980, and my girlfriend and I had just broken up after a few months together. She knew I liked to cross-dress, but she didn't care much about the clothes I liked to wear. I think she saw it as a quirk of men that she could deal with. We broke up because of other things, and I was ready to meet new people, try new things, and move on with my life. Anyway, part of this was finding new places to go in the evenings where I wouldn't keep running into my ex-girlfriend and her friends. Someone at work told me about this quiet pub near the old hospital that had a pool table and regulars who were friendly enough. What he didn't say was that, depending on the shift schedule at the hospital, nurses would take over the place on certain nights to let their hair down, drink a few pints, and have some fun. For a group of them, that night's fun would be me. So, on my first night there, after my friend had introduced me to the locals and then left, I lost some money to an old man at pool and drank a pint of strong cider. I felt happy and warm inside, and for the first time in a while, things were starting to look up. But I decided to call it a night and go home early after ordering one more half pint at the bar. I was so focused on how my life was getting better that I didn't notice that at least a dozen women, mostly in small groups, had filled the other half of the pub. "Can I get a half pint?" After I had ordered my drink, a woman with a high-pitched voice called out from behind the bar. I saw a group of women standing there, one with blonde hair, one with red hair, one who looked smart and wore glasses, and one girl who was pretty big. "We don't drink half drinks here," the big one said with a wink as he threw a few more coins on the bar. "Get him something to drink." I said, "Thank you," and took a full pint. On the way home, it will keep me warm. "Already leaving?" the blonde girl asked. They had set up a stool for one more person. I was going to say that I had to work in the morning, but then I asked myself why. All of them seemed pretty, and some of them seemed interested in me, which was a big plus. Maybe I could stay and spend the night there. I liked the drink they bought me, so I bought another one for myself. At first, we just talked about random things, but the talk soon turned to what they did for a living. They were all dressed in regular clothes now, but I thought about them all in their nurse uniforms, rushing around the wards and taking care of patients. I asked them what they liked about nursing because I had had a few drinks. "Oh my! Ask for an interview," the blonde said. "No," I said. "Not the interview answer." "The truth," the redhead said. "I think it's being in charge." "About the patients, men in particular, taking care of everything, putting things in order," said the person in glasses. "The clothes. Size 24 was said. The girls were all laughing. Clang. We were done with our drinks when the bell for last orders went off. I told the nurses that it had been a lovely evening as I reached for my coat. "It was great to talk to you." "Oh, the night is still going on," the blonde girl answered. "You don't think we haven't thought of everything, do you? Kathy and I live together in a flat with a lot of alcohol, and you're all welcome." I said, "That's very kind of you, but The redhead told him, "You're coming. We've talked about ourselves all night, and now we want to know more about you." 5 of us got into a taxi and went to who knows where. On the way, I was asked a lot of questions about what I did for a living, if I had a girlfriend, and if not, what had happened to the last one. I told them I worked at the county library, which was true, that I was getting a degree from the Open University, which was kind of true at the hour time, and that I had big plans for the future, which was not true at all. They knew it was a lie. "Aren't you a poor little lost sheep?" the girl with glasses said. They laughed when I told them I wanted to be a writer one day. At last, the cab pulled up to the foot of a building that looked bad. We were a long way south of the river in cheap student housing. As we stepped out into the dark, I started to feel a little scared, even though the cider in my stomach was giving me courage. It was very cold, and the light could see our breath. "You've reached the palace," the redhead said as she looked around for her keys. The apartment itself was pretty big, with one big room that could be used for anything, and a kitchenette, 2 small bedrooms, and a tiny bathroom. The tenants must have thought that clear floor space was a terrible thing because they had filled every inch of it with old sofas, bean bags, discarded clothes, piles of nursing textbooks, and dirty mugs and wine glasses that were usually stuck in the cracks. We each found a spot, poured drinks, took off our coats, and ordered pizza. Then we went back to talking about whether I or anyone else knew what they wanted to do with their lives. I was talking with a glass in my hand about how great my job as an assistant librarian is when the conversation suddenly went in a different direction. "You have to wear a skirt and a blouse, right?" With a laugh, the redhead asked. "I don't see why they should, unless I wanted them to." I gave a careless answer. "Well, it does seem like a job for girls, don't you think?" asked the woman in red. "I'd expect a librarian's assistant to wear a skirt and blouse." "It's not required," I said, giving that nervous giggle that every crossdresser tries to avoid when the topic comes up. "I think they want their employees to wear whatever makes them feel good. Oh, now that's a treat. Put the blonde girl in. Imagine if we could wear whatever makes us feel good to work. It would be a lot easier to change beds," the girl with glasses said. "Well," I said, "I really like the uniforms you guys wear, and I immediately felt bad about it." "We know that," the redhead said. "But you don't have to wear it, do you, sweetie?" So they must not be that bad, right?" I did ask. "Be quiet," the big woman then smiled in a funny way. "Do you agree, ladies, that it's time to try something new?" She smiled and asked. "Exactly what kind of test?" asked the woman in red. "Let's see if Big Mouth can spend the rest of the night in ward dress, which must meet matron standards. I'll be the matron, so put in the girl with glasses. And ask him again in, say, 2 hours, if he still feels the same way." I said, "I'm not sure if I can do that." When I thought about putting on a nurse's uniform in front of these women, my nerves went crazy, and I was also scared. The redhead said, "I think you're outvoted, 1-4. Follow me, my sweetheart. I think you can fit in one of mine." The redhead went into one of the smaller rooms, and cute big girl gave me a gentle push to go with her. We were the only ones in the smaller room, so she pushed the door open. "Are you having a good time?" she asked. "Every once in a while, we like to pick a little lamb like you out of that bar for a little fun. Just keep in mind that we're in charge and have fun." I agreed. "What are you wearing under those jeans?" "Yes, good, keep them on and take off the rest." Unconsciously, I did what she told me to do. It was a voice with a clear hint of steel, which meant it had to do no matter what. Hearing and following those wonderful motherly tones has always made me feel free. She looked through her closet while she pulled out a nurse's dress. This was the national design that the health service had come up with so that all nurses would look the same. It was light blue with a white crisscross pattern. When I put it on, I was surprised by how heavy it was and how rough the polyester fabric felt. The front of the dress had big white buttons that were hidden by a flap when the redhead fastened them. The dress was scratchy, hard to move in. She tied an apron around my waist that was stiff and cracked, which added to the effect. When she did this to me, I could feel the cold metal of the pins between my dress and my skin. Then I put on the belt and pulled it tight. Finally, I put on the hat, which made me feel pretty silly as it sat on top of my head. "Here we are, my love," said the redhead. "What's it like?" When I looked in a mirror and saw myself, I said, "That's very strange. Straight back, eyes forward, and you're out." My situation made the nurses laugh a lot. The blonde girl almost spilled her drink from laughing so hard. "That's what I call equal rights for men and women," said the girl with glasses with a certain amount of pleasure. "Girl, let's take a look at you." I walked into the middle of the room where the self-proclaimed matron was having a great time fussing over her life-size doll in uniform. I felt great, but I was also very embarrassed. "Now think about working a 10-hour shift in that," the blonde girl said. "Those long hallways that were cold." I thought about cold hospital drafts blowing through my sleeves and skirt. "We could take him for a walk around the block." That was a scary idea that made me shiver. I said, "Well, I think you've made your point. It's not comfortable, and they should change the way it's made." "No way. 2 hours ago. You said yes." I couldn't remember if I had said something like that or not. The redhead told me to sit down over there and be good, or we'll send you home the way you are. I took a seat. I tried to take off the paper nurse's cap that was pinned to my hair because it was starting to bother me. "Don't change the uniform. We can tell you love wearing it, don't you?" The girls put a belt around the uniform to make it look better, but at the same time locked it and I couldn't open it without a key. Fear grew in me when I realized I was giving up the last bit of control I had over the situation, but something about made me want to do it. I love cross-dressing, so this should be a problem. A few minutes later, when the doorbell rang, I was really surprised. Of course, it was just the pizza guy, and I was glad I wasn't near the door. The girls had ordered a huge pepperoni pizza with cheese on top, and I suddenly realized I was very hungry. The redhead was kind and held out a piece of cake for me to nibble on. "Don't even think about putting any of that on my uniform," she warned me, even though I wasn't the best at eating nicely. The big girl solved the problem by stuffing a tea towel down the front of my dress to make a bib. That worked pretty well, and the redhead's dress stayed clean, at least for now. The redhead was sitting right next to me, and I could feel her warmth and smell the soft perfume. I was honestly having a great time. As the night went on, the uniform didn't change. I think I fell asleep, though I don't know how, because the next thing I remember, the girl with glasses was shaking me awake. Early morning light was coming in through the windows. It was electric blue. The polyester uniform was hot and sticky, so as soon as the other nurses woke up, I asked the redhead to help me get out of it so I could change. She said, "Okay, but I'll have to wash that dress. I think you got the message." "Where did I put the belt keys?" the blonde girl said. "I haven't seen them." "I thought they were with you." I was getting more and more worried as the girls looked for the keys but couldn't find them. "Do you have to hurry to get home?" I told her, "No, not really," when she asked me that question. After all, it was Saturday. "I don't think we'll find the key," said the blonde girl, "and I have to go to work in a few hours." The girl with glasses agreed. "Can somebody open them?" I had no choice but to ask. "Not at all," said the redhead. "The only solution is to just cut them off." "Fire department?" the big girl suggested. I didn't like the idea at all, especially since I was wearing what I was wearing. "Hold on, add the girl with glasses." She looked at my cuffs. She said she thought so. "I have a similar pair at home. The same keys will be used." "How far away are you?" asked the woman in red. She said, "Half an hour. But then I would miss work. I can't do that." After a moment of thinking, the redhead smiled. She started by pointing at me and the girl with glasses and saying, "Okay, girls, here's the plan. Put on one of my other work clothes. You two go get the keys, get free, change clothes, and go home." "And I'm on time for work," the girl in glasses said at the end. "Hold on a second. I was very scared. I can't go out like this." "You'll have to," replied the redhead. "You'll both be in uniform. 2 nurses on the way to work. Still, we'll have to make you up. Let's get going." 4 young women were working hard to make me look as female as possible in 10 minutes. They also put a wig on my head and a little makeup on me. The last thing they did was put a long blue cape around my neck, just like the ones nurses wore back then. I thought I would look stupid, but to my surprise, I looked pretty real at first glance. The girl with glasses was also wearing her uniform, so the 2 of us looked like 2 nurses on their way to work. The redhead told her to leave. "Better let me open the door." We clattered down the steps to the street and into the morning. And the morning breezes, which felt like cold fingers, got under the cape and around the open collar of my uniform. The metal bands around the belt started to get cold. Luckily, it was still early, so no one was around, but I knew that someone would eventually see us. I found it hard to walk in the shoes they gave, but after a while I got the hang of it. We walked by 2 old men waiting for a bus, but they didn't notice us. "How far is it?" I asked, and the girl with glasses said, "It's a little way." "You're doing a great job." A few drops of rain hit the nurse's cap and bounced off. Rain getting on the uniform was not a pleasant thought. We kept going, and thank goodness it stopped raining. "Almost there. I bet you'll be happy to get out of this belt and clothes." We were getting close to the apartment building where she lived, and I was just about to think that we wouldn't run into anyone when we almost did. They were both nurses, too. "How are you?" One of them wore glasses and said hello to the girl. "How are you?" my friend told me. "Are you going to work together?" she asked. "Just taking something to my apartment. You look good." "Who is it?" looking at me with a puzzled face. "Mindy, she's a new girl. I am teaching her how to do things." "Okay, then, I'll see you on the ward soon." The nurses had to leave. You can probably guess how bad I felt. "Thank you for getting me out of that jam." With a big sigh of relief, I said. The nurse said, "Well, I guess we put you in this situation. Let's go back inside." After 5 minutes, she unlocked the belt. "There you go," she said. I would think back on the event for a long time. It all started out as something unpleasant, but in the end, I loved it. Now I wear woman clothes regularly. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.